daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome everybody to the Daily Premier League podcast. Here we all are, joined together, 21st of October. It's Tuesday evening. Another busy day in the Premier League and another busy evening in the Championship. I'm off to see Derby against Norwich. Nick's cried off, fair weather sporter, bit chilly, bit cold, bit dark.
Nothing of the sort. I've had a season ticket at Derby for, since the dawn of time. I'm not going tonight because I've got too much work on.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And he's doing podcasts. My name's Ken Davis. You would have gathered his name is Nick Britton. A very warm welcome to all our listeners, wherever you are in the world. Pull up a chair, draw near to the fire, and let's talk football. Right. So, are you well, Nick? Are you having an exciting day?
I'm having a very exciting day. It's been a great day, and I watched the Derby game on the telly later on. That's fine, but I've got a very early start again tomorrow. I've got work to do tonight, so it's just one of those things.
Look out for me. I'll give you a wave. I am channeling a massive Derby win, and look, I don't want to keep going on about my prediction success at the weekend. Well, I do want to keep going on about it, but I've got a feeling it's going to be 3-0 Derby. Get your money on that.
Okay, I'll get all my money on that, including my house and everything I own. How's that?
Yeah. Report back tomorrow from under the railway bridge.
I'll be around your house later. Don't worry about that.
Right, 4 things to discuss. Firstly, there was a game last night, and it was West Ham who were wretched against Brentford. Brentford won 2-0 at the stadium of whatever they call it, the Olympic Stadium. There's been a further development on the stories we've been covering over the last week or so, the Maccabi Tel Aviv thing about their fans not being able to travel to Villa or being banned from travelling to Villa. There's been another development on that we want to cover. Sean Dyche, much to absolutely nobody's surprise, has been appointed as the manager of Nottingham Forest. We've kind of done this one to death, but I thought it might be a good thing just to get your view, Nick, on what you think the priorities are. What's on Sean Dyche's to-do list straight away? So that'd be an interesting thing to do. And finally, something we kind of should have covered, maybe I wanted to cover earlier in the week or over the weekend, didn't get a chance to do. Just how bad are Wolves? I mean, 2 points for a possible 24. I saw the game, or bits of the game at least, against Sunderland. Very patchy performance by Wolves. Good performance by Sunderland, but Wolves look pretty wretched as well. So I think we need just to touch on that as well. So going back to the top of the agenda, to the top of my PowerPoint presentation, West Ham 0, Brentford 2. What was your take on that game?
Well, West Ham have been heading in one direction for quite a little while now, ever since they sacked David Moyes, really. And it was an ill-advised move to bring in Julien Lopetegui. That didn't last very long, so they brought in Graham Potter. That didn't last very long, and they brought in Nuno, and 3 games in, they've lost all 3. So not good for Nuno, not good for West Ham. It was widely considered... I mean, I watched the game last night, and it was absolutely pathetic. It was a pathetic performance by West Ham, and what you've got to hope for, particularly if you're an owner of a football club, what you've got to hope for is when a new manager comes in, that decision is in part justified by a bit of a bounce, bit of a new manager bounce. There's nothing. In fact, it was worse. It was worse than it was under Potter because players are playing out of position, bizarre substitutions are being made. He had a midfield in there, players who hadn't played at all. He looks like he's just experimenting and using Premier League games to experiment, which in some respects you can understand because if the first 11, for want of a better phrase, that have failed miserably under Potter, you kind of want to look elsewhere. You want to see who else have we got in the squad, and are they up for it? And I think all that he learnt last night was the players that were initially not up for it aren't, and the players that he brought in to see if they were any better aren't. So he's got a real problem on his hands.
He has.
He's got a real problem on his hands here.
I don't think this is savable, actually. When I was watching last night, no impression of it. They look like a championship team against a Premier League team. Not a great Premier League team, but they looked second best in everything.
They look like an average championship team against an average Premier League team. And Brentford, how it was only 1-0 until the last couple of moments goodness only knows. They could have had 5 in the first half alone. And take Jarrod Bowen out of that team, and West Ham are absolutely, they're more like a League One team, frankly. They're all over the place. And the difficulty they've got is that all this is being done, of course, against the backdrop of fan protests. There was a boycott last night, which doesn't look good. The optics aren't good if you're the new manager and you're wanting the home team to come and get behind you, and half the crowd have stayed away. I mean, any West Ham manager is expecting a half-empty ground towards the end of the game, because that's what happens now. But I don't suppose they expect it at the start of the game. So he must have walked into
this. Atmosphere either, is it, that ground?
Well, it's got a terrible atmosphere even when it is full, let alone when it's half full. And he must have wondered. He walked into this and go, "What on earth have I walked into? What on earth have I walked into?" And Sullivan and Brady, the owners of West Ham, have got a lot of questions to answer, because they've taken West Ham away from their ground, which was a difficult ground to go to. It was a home advantage at Upton Park was a big advantage.
Kind of Fulhamish, wasn't it, in a way, in the sense of relatively old-fashioned ground, but the crowd's on top of you.
Yeah, and I would say far more fearsome than Fulham. It was a very unnerving place to go and play football, Upton Park, when the crowd's up and it's on top of you. And it was quite intimidating, I'd say. And they've gone there and they've taken the easy money, and they've taken a ground that's cost them nothing, and they're renting it. It's cost them nothing to move there. It's not a football ground. They've done nothing to try and alleviate those issues in terms of making the crowd closer to the pitch by putting in seating and stuff like that, or doing something to help those. So it's still an athletic stadium that is hosting football. And now you've got a crowd who, quite frankly, is out to get you. And this is not the first time this has happened to West Ham. I remember sort of crowd complaints and not riots, the wrong phrase, but protests and all of that a few years ago. It got quite nasty, by the way. And here we are yet again. But to me, they are sleepwalking their way into the Championship. And when you look at the bottom of the table, they are sandwiched in between Wolves, who are bottom, and Forest, who are third from bottom. West Ham are second from bottom. But out of those three, West Ham look the worst team.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, that. And whatever you think about Forest, I think they've got enough talent to get themselves out of there.
I think Forest have, and I think to some extent Wolves have. But West Ham, the outlier in West Ham's season is that ridiculous 3-0 win against Forest away from home, which was Nuno's last game, it turned out to be. Take that away from them, and they're on a single point. And it was, and I know you can't say, well, you can't pick results here and pick results there. It doesn't work like that. But it was such an outlier, given the way they've performed in all of their other games. To go and win 3-0 at Forest was just bizarre. It didn't look like it was going to be anything that could be repeated or built on. It's just one of those weird games. So they are probably the worst team in the league.
They looked at it last night. I mean, Brentford we had down as a team likely to face the drop themselves. They've really upped the game. I was quite impressed. They were pretty dominant, actually, certainly first half against West Ham. Thiago looked a threat. I thought he looks a player. So I thought that was good. But what was really striking for me was just how easy West Ham were to play through the lines.
Well, they've got no pace. They've just got no pace anywhere on the pitch. They've got a bit of pace up front, but apart from that, they've got no pace in midfield, and critically,
they're slow, really pedestrian.
Yeah, no pace at the back. And you know, when it's just sort of one ball over the top, which catches you out time and time and time again, because your centre halves are just too slow to turn around, that's not a good sign.
It's not, and they're going to get they're going to face a lot worse opposition than Brentford.
Better opposition, you mean?
Better opposition. I mean, worse from West Ham's point of view. Bowen was the only threat for West Ham, but he's on his own. And to be honest, it's quite easy to feel sorry for Bowen. If I was Bowen's agent, I'd be on the phone to anyone right now, to be honest.
Well, you can go back any number of podcasts that we've done together, and I've made this point time and time again. Jarrod Bowen should not be playing at West Ham. He's a much better player than that, and I hope it doesn't. I don't hope it doesn't impact on his England prospects for getting in a squad for the World Cup, because he should be in a squad for the World Cup, in my opinion. I think he's an excellent player, and he should be playing at a much better team.
Where would you see Bowen fitting in best?
Well, I'd like him at Derby. That'd be good.
Sensibly, where do you think he could play at West Ham? To be honest,
he could play at. He could easily play at Fulham or at Brighton or Sunderland or Bournemouth, Everton, Brentford. I mean, to be honest, I think he's a good enough player that he'll make a difference wherever he goes, outside perhaps
the top six.
Well, I don't even know that, because to be honest, he could probably get in Liverpool's team right now, couldn't he?
No. No.
Really? You don't think so? You don't think if out of the three, if they all play for Liverpool right now, out of the three of Florian Wirtz, Mo Salah, and Jarrod Bowen, who's the player you put in the team?
He's not going to Liverpool, Nick.
No, I'm not saying he's going to Liverpool. What I'm saying is he would be better than what Liverpool have got at the moment.
Probably, but I would. But I'm not going to Liverpool either. West Ham have got a mountain. Already feels like they've got a bit of a mountain to climb. And the energy wasn't there. The flair certainly wasn't there. And you know what? That kind of determination to get something out of the game was absolutely absent. So
no, and the big worry is that by the time they have the first opportunity to try and rectify the problems, which is in the January transfer window, it might just be too late.
I think it might well be. So that's Wolves. That's West Ham. We're going to come to Wolves. Just something else to kind of keep you up to date on is the continuing story about the Maccabi Tel Aviv issue in relation to their fans being able to come to Birmingham to watch a game of football. And apparently these days in the UK, that's not allowed. So what's happened in the course of the last 24 hours is, in a way, Maccabi Tel Aviv have diffused the situation because they've declined supporter tickets for that match. So the whole issue becomes something of a moot point now because obviously they're not going to be travelling in any quantity to watch the game. And in fact, Villa have said you need, in order to get any ticket for that game, you need to have a purchasing history at Villa Park. Well, to be honest, there isn't going to be anybody from Tel Aviv who qualifies for that. So that looks to have diffused the situation, but it's still very embarrassing. And it's still a terrible situation. And I just hope that there is no pressure applied to Maccabi Tel Aviv to do that. So what's your take on that? Because it's a pretty distressing situation.
Well, this story just kind of keeps shifting, doesn't it, day by day? And this has, as you say, it's diffused the situation, but it's left the government in a slightly tricky situation because they have gone hell for leather to try and get the Birmingham Safety Advisory Group, which is the group that made the decision and advised that fans shouldn't be allowed. They've gone hell for leather for them to change their mind. And now they're left in a bit of a situation where they go, well, do we just now let it quietly go away? Or, and essentially let those who seek to stoke. Well, there's a great quote, by the way, by somebody from the government today who said it was completely unacceptable that the match had been, quote, weaponised to stoke violence of fear by those who seek to divide us. That is a brilliant quote, and that's exactly what this has happened to this game by certain sections of our anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic community in Birmingham. That's precisely what has happened. And I think it's important that the government carries on. I don't think it should just go, oh, well, that's it then. If they're not going to come, there's no point fighting this anymore. I think they should fight it. I think they should, for the sake of just doing the right thing, have this decision overturned. Now, whether then Tel Aviv choose not to take the tickets is then their decision. But I don't think this story should end by everybody going, oh well, if they're not coming, there's no point. We'll all go and walk away. For the good of society, for the good of principle, the government needs to crack on. And I would like to see the Birmingham Safety Advisory Group advise that if they wanted to come, fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv would be welcome.
Yeah, I wish, really, and of course, Maccabi Tel Aviv are completely innocent in this, but I wish they hadn't made that decision because it kind of does allow our politicians in the UK to kick this into the long grass. I've got a feeling they will kick it into the long grass for all kinds of political reasons.
They've got loads of form for kicking things into the long grass that need dealing with. They don't like dealing with anything. This government, it looked for a little while like they might actually do some good when it came to this. And I hope they do, because it would be already the haters and the bigots and the anti-Semites have won, and I don't think that this situation should just be allowed to drift and disappear.
No, I agree. It's horrible precedent, and it raises the confidence and emboldens the bigoted. And anything that raises the confidence and emboldens the bigoted is wrong. And I was hoping for better justice than this, but Maccabi Tel Aviv have kind of probably taken what they think is the pragmatic step. In a way, I wish they hadn't, because it would have forced the government to do something about it, and they needed to do something about it.
I'll end on this point on this again. I said a few days ago on this podcast that if we get to a situation where this game takes place and the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans are still not allowed in, i.e. they've not been given the opportunity to travel and come to the game, Birmingham as a city should be stripped of any future major game of football.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Right, as we know in football, as we know in life, as we know in politics, it pays to get your team selection right. Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery partner, and we chose Zencastr, because Zencastr makes it easy to bring your vision to life, share it with your audience, wherever they may be around the world. It's got 4K video recording. It's got really easy AI editing tools. It's got amazing distribution tools, and they're all in one place. You don't have to go anywhere else. So if you've got a story to tell it with Zencastr. Check the show notes for more details.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Right, 16 minutes into this Pulitzer Prize winning episode of the Daily Premier League podcast. Obviously, the Pulitzer organisation don't know that yet, but it's only a matter of time. Right, what we talked about was...
I thought you'd sent them all our stuff. You told me 2 weeks ago that they were about to get in touch.
Well, I'm being a little bit disappointed by that lack of kind of feedback, but it's only a matter of time, Nick. Just patience, mate. You'll get a blue plaque on your house before you know it. Now, Sean Dyche has been appointed by Nottingham Forest, ex-Everton manager, left in January from Everton. Feels like someone who's going to bring a pragmatic approach to the Forest situation. The Forest situation is pretty up in the air, of course, for all kinds of reasons. I don't imagine Dyche would take any nonsense from Edu or from Marinakis. But if you were Sean Dyche and you were sitting in the office, in his manager office right now, and you had a to-do list in front of you, what would be at the top of your to-do list if you were Mr. Ginger Sean Dyche?
Get the defence sorted out and stop conceding goals, I think, is number one. Number two would be fostering some team spirit. And he's good at, I'll tell you what Dyche is really good at. He's just good at that kind of dogs of war, us against the world, getting the real unity amongst his playing staff and getting them out there as one. And that's been severely lacking. I think certainly under Ange and to some extent this season under Nuno. Let's not forget Forest haven't won a game since the opening game of the season.
Yeah.
So they're drifting quite badly. They've lost their last 4 in all competitions, including 3 in the Premier League and 1 in Europe. And Dyche is the perfect man, I think, to get them together and organise them better and foster that team spirit and make them much harder to beat. Beyond that, I don't know, but that we'll have to wait and see. I mean, if people suddenly think that he's going to change his philosophy and start playing free-flowing attacking football, I think they're in for a horrible surprise. I think we know what we're going to get with him. I think we know what Forest are going to be, and that may well see them finish 16th or 17th at the end of the season. But they may think that's a decent season.
Well, things have changed so incredibly quickly in 8 games. Generally, I would agree. I would agree with that. And one of the things that really occurred to me watching Forest at the weekend was just how fragile they were. When they went down, they just physically, visually deflated. Dyche isn't going to tolerate that. He's gonna. I think. He's a leader of men, Dyche. I think he is. I think he's going to get him in a room. He's going to say, look, let's get this simple. Let everybody understand what the rules of the game are. Let everybody understand what your responsibilities are. And I'm going to hold you to account for fulfilling those responsibilities. I think that's bringing a slightly simpler style to Forest. I think it's going to be helpful. their centre backs. Sorry,
depends what that means. It depends what that means. Sorry, it depends what that means, because a simpler style people might listen to this thinking, oh yeah, Sean Dyche at Everton, Sean Dyche at Burnley. Ooh, long ball football.
No, not
if that's the
necessarily.
case, that's going to really, really, I think, negate Forest's arguably their two best players, who are Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White. So I don't know what do you mean by simple style of football?
Well, I just think one of the things, the problems has been with the Forest team is that they've had, essentially, now with Dyche, they're going to have three styles in 7 matches. So they went from the Nuno situation and they went to the Postecoglou formation and system and strategy, and it was radically different. If you actually look at the figures, look at the data, they really were playing in a very, very different way. Now they've got the Dyche one. I think the Dyche one is much closer to what they were playing last year in a much more successful season. So I think what Dyche is going to be able to do is actually say to people, look, let's be very clear what people's responsibilities are. They're much closer to what you're used to, much closer to what your skills are as a set of players. And let's get back to that. Let's just focus on that. Let's get ourselves confident in terms of we're going to be able to perform in the way that we used to perform. Remember, we used to be good. Remember when we were good? We were good because we followed these fairly basic rules as a team and as a philosophy. Let's get back to that. I think Dyche is going to be able to do that, and I think that's going to help him. Ange was just too radical.
Yeah, we talked about Ange trying to implement too much too quickly, and you're right. I mean, look, Milenkovic and Murillo at the heart of their defence, they will be delighted to see the back of Ange, because this high line, high style just left them massively exposed for their lack of pace. Yeah. And they were much better suited to sitting deep, having that bank of midfield in front of them, and allowing the wide players of Forest particularly to hit on the counter. So you mentioned 3 things. I mentioned 2 of them. I'll give you my third. He's got to get Chris Wood scoring again.
Yeah.
That, I think, is huge, because they're not scoring enough goals. And a lot of that reason is Chris Wood isn't scoring, because he's their main striker. He's not only not scoring, but he's been missing some absolute howlers of late. So I think, getting the defence sorted out, fostering a team spirit, and getting Chris Wood back up and firing are the 3 priorities for Sean Dyche.
I think that makes sense. I think he's got a good chance, to be honest. He's not going to lead him to the glory years of Nuno, I don't think. But you know what? He's going to stabilise the ship. That's what you bring Captain Dyche in to do, don't you? If Captain Dyche had been on the Titanic, it would never have sunk.
Well, I think we mustn't forget that he did take Burnley to 7th, didn't he, in the Premier League? So it's not a sort of Sam Allardyce. So I feel bad about saying that, actually. But, people turn to Neil Warnock or Sam Allardyce to just say, we've got 3 months left of the season, just keep us up, will you? Because actually both of them were much, much better managers than that. Yeah. And Sam Allardyce, lest people forget, was one of the managers, although he never got credit for it, that was very much at the forefront of sporting technology and analysis and stuff like that. And Sean Dyche will no doubt point to the fact that, look, under Everton and under Burnley, I had to operate under very tight financial stricture, whereas here I might get £200 million to spend every year, because that's what Marinakis likes to do.
An amazing array of talent, really.
Well, I think part of the problem at Forest is they've got too many players, and it's impossible to keep that many players happy. I read somewhere yesterday they had £180 million worth of players not even in the squad.
Not played yesterday.
Now, that is not going to work. You can't do that.
No.
Maybe another other thing on Dyche's list is just cut down, and if you can, bearing in mind he may not have any say whatsoever over transfers, can you cut down on the squad size?
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem. Do they know their best team? I bet they don't. There's just too much talent around. Very hard to do that. Very interesting. Right. Now, Global Sports Podcast Network is partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements, because your body is unique. Because without knowing what deficiencies you have, taking off-the-shelf supplement might mean you're not getting enough of the nutrients you need, maybe too many of the ones you don't need. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. So why don't you click on the link in the show notes? You can use the code GSPN2025. You'll get 40% off your first order.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Okay, we better bring this to a conclusion. I don't want to be late for the supporters bus for the Derby Norwich game, so let's get this wrapped up in the next 5 minutes.
Is that the OAP ambulance who comes and picks you up?
I beg your pardon. Right. Okay. No, we're going to be talking about Wolves. Wolves, 2 points for a possible 24. By the way, it's 1 point better than last year. I understand.
Really?
Yeah.
They didn't get off to this bad a start last year, did they?
They got off to a terrible start last year.
Mind you, they changed the manager, didn't they? Yeah.
They did. And they brought in Vitor Pereira. Just want to talk about it because I watched the Sunderland. Well, I didn't watch it all. I watched a chunk of the Sunderland Wolves game. Looked terrible in the first half. Wolves looked better in the second half. They actually didn't have. They had some chances. They just didn't take advantage of those chances. Now, the danger, of course, is you don't dig yourself out of that hole twice on the run often, and they're in danger of being cut adrift. Got the worst goal difference. Where do you reckon the Wolves are? Are they going to escape a second time? Dodge a bullet another time?
I think the difficulty with Wolves is that for a couple of seasons now, particularly over this summer, they have sold key players and not replaced them.
Yeah, they're missing
and you just get weaker and weaker and weaker. So they've sold Ryan at Nuri, they sold Matheus Cunha, they sold Nelson Semedo, which is a big loss. And then you're adding to that, their key striker, Strand Larsen, has not really fired. He's been injured. And then it turns out over this weekend, he's got probably a long-term Achilles injury, which he's playing through, but that's not great. Not a great thing to do.
Newcastle are breathing a massive sigh of relief.
Well, possibly. I mean, if it is a long-term thing that's previously might have been flagged up on the medical, but they're desperate. I mean, one of the reasons they pulled out of it last year is his form and his goals. Take that away from the team as well as all the other players. You're literally taking away, vast majority. Take Cunha and Strand Larsen out of last year's team, and you're left with what you're left with.
Yeah, which is not very much. Cunha is a big loss. Cunha is looking a good player for Man U. So
he's a very, very good player.
He's a really talented player. So you take that talent out of Wolves, you are going to struggle. Just by the way, I thought it might be a useful thing to do, like we did yesterday, looking at the next 5 games for Wolves.
Yeah, whilst you get them up, I mean, it's not a question of losing the players. It's a question of not having a proper plan to replace them. And we talked about Brentford, and we should do something on Brentford quite soon. But we talked about Brentford, how they've lost pretty much their entire front line and their manager, and yet they brought in players who look like they're going to fill that gap. So it's not the fact that they lose players or sell them for a profit or help to run their business in a sustainable and profitable way. It's the fact that you sell them and don't replace them.
Yeah, but that's
just sort of the road to disaster.
It is, and we see it often, and the unsung heroes often in clubs is the ability to scout and the ability to scout excellent players in a systematic way. And Brentford have always been extremely good at that. They're extremely good at that in the Championship.
Yeah, the problem Wolves have got, there's no more players from Portugal left to get. They've had them all.
Exactly. There's that bloke in the cafe in Lisbon, isn't it? They've not tapped up yet.
I'm going to Lisbon in a couple of weeks. I'll go and have a word.
It's what a wonderful city. So
so I think that's the problem. I don't think they're not that bad a side. It really surprises me that they just can't win a game because they're not that bad a side.
Well, they turned it around completely last year, and we were singing the praises of Pereira. We were saying, right, they're a Portuguese team. They've got a great Portuguese manager. He's really talented. He's going to pull them out of the mire. He did exactly that. And now they find themselves back in the mire again. The next 5 games, Nick, interested in your predictions on these next 5 games. The big one coming up, isn't it? Burnley at home.
Yeah, that's an absolutely massive game. And I actually do think I fancy them for this.
Yeah,
I do think they'll win this game because they're coming up against a team that away from home just struggles to keep clean sheets and
score.
And score, yeah. And I think that this will be it for Wolves. If they're going to win any game, in the entirety of the season, it's going to have to be Burnley at home.
It's very early in the season to talk about must-win games. This feels like a must-win game for Wolves.
Well, it kind of feels like not that far off for Burnley because they're not. Let's not forget they're hardly set in the division alight, and Wolves are bottom, haven't got a win all season, but then you don't have to go very far up the table to find Burnley, who are on 7 points out of 8 and hovering one place above the relegation zone. So if Wolves win this, they're only going to be 2 points behind Burnley.
You're right. If Burnley win it, they're 8 points clear of them.
Yeah, so it kind of feels, you say it's a must-win game for Wolves. I kind of feel Burnley will be looking at this and going, guys, this is a real opportunity for us. It won't be a must-win game for them, but they'll look at this and go, this is a real opportunity for us.
I think they'll be happy with the point, Burnley, from the game.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Wolves have to win this because the 4 games after that are Fulham away, Chelsea away, Palace at home, Villa away. I mean, forget it.
I would say you're looking at a point at best out of all of those.
Yeah, you are.
I think you point at best. Sorry, Fulham fans, but you might get something out of Fulham. You're not going to get anything away at Chelsea, and you're certainly not going to get anything away at Villa because they are really resurgent. And home to Palace, yeah, likewise. I mean, Palace, we know, are one of the best away sides in the division. So
1 or 2 points out of them 4, aren't there? Max. So yeah, it really is.
Maybe the home against Palace, they'll fancy a point, but yeah, not good.
No, not good. So that's going to be a really interesting watch, I think, at the weekend. So
we can come back. We can come back at the start of December, which is 1 month before the transfer window opens, but heading into that busy run of fixtures, mid to late December over Christmas, and I think by then we'll have a better idea of where Wolves are.
I think so, and it could be halfway between the Premier League and the Championship.
Yeah, it could be exactly where they are now. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nick. That's been inspiring. It's been educational, and I think it's been somewhat, what's the word? It's been interesting.
Well, I hope for a bit more than interesting. Entertaining, good fun. Everybody's had a good time.
Yeah, it could be all those things. Interesting is good though in podcasts. I like podcasts, which I find interesting, and I found your views very interesting today. So enjoy the game tonight from the comfort of your armchair with a pint of Guinness or something. I'll be braving the freezing cold Derby night just to make sure there's a little bit of atmosphere there. And look forward to a 3-0 Derby.
More for you. No, I wish I could join you at the game. I wish. It's very, very rare that I miss home game. Very rare. But, needs must and things like that.
Enough. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you are interested in getting in contact with us, send us an email. Send it to dailypremierleaguepodcast@gmail.com. Look forward to receiving that. Have fun. Hope your team wins if they're playing tonight. And we'll catch you later in the week.